Hello everyone, this is Gene from NYC, and as you can see, this is what I actually look like. Yes, this is me in the flesh, not hiding behind a picture, not hiding behind a 10-year-old picture of myself with sunglasses. This is indeed me. Hello world. This is what I actually look like. So you may be wondering, well, why are you showing your face after nearly a year? Well, it's because I received a request about a month or so ago saying that I should show my face. And I responded at the time by jokingly saying that I have a face for radio. However, the request did not leave my mind, and I started, I guess, really paying attention to other creators, and I really started noticing that a lot of creators really do show their face in today's internet world, right? Today's YouTube internet world. So I decided, well, if they can do it, right, without over concern over their appearance, then so can I. Though how do I put it? I'm not going to say that this is going to be the way I'm going to present everything. This is sort of a test run. I am quite literally talking into my camera phone, chilling, lying back in my bed on a nice sunny, what is today? Saturday? Saturday morning. This is actually the best time for me to do this because there's sunlight coming through the windows, which will provide some light. Because while my preference would be to just sit in front of my computer and do this and look better, but I'm not in the mood to like do my hair. So here we are. it's very fuzzy. Right? I stopped perming years ago, so it's all natural. This is all natural. I don't dye. I don't perm. Well, I don't perm anymore. Nothing against perms. It's just that I just don't do it anymore. And I've never dyed my hair. So yeah, as you can see, my hair is slowly turning white. My eyebrows are still black though, so that's good. So anyway, enough about my appearance. So here I am. Now, as I was saying, I'm not sure if I'm going to stick with this or do this all the time because I'm not getting a good angle here. Okay, so the issue is that my dear Lord, this is, there we go. That's a little bit better. Yeah. There we go. That's the angle I wanted. Excuse me. There we go. That's marginally better. See, I'm new to all this. I don't usually worry about camera angles and things like that. But anyway, I would prefer to just be sitting in front of my computer and doing this. But my computer's, it's really a laptop. My computer's camera is not good. It is fuzzy. You can't make out anything. This camera, at the very least, so long as there's a good light source, in which right now it's sunny outside here in New York City. It's about, it's a little after 11 o'clock, 11 in the morning. So here it's having a very nice sunny day today. So there's a lot of natural light flooding in. So it's at least making the video somewhat presentable, right? Whereas with my the camera on my laptop, it is gone. Awful. It's fuzzy. I mean, like the fuzz on your TV back in the day is clearer than the camera on my laptop. And here's the thing: when I didn't buy the laptop, someone else bought it for me as a gift, and camera quality is not something. Excuse me. Camera quality is not something I've ever really been concerned about when it comes to computers because I've never had an online presence until now, so I've never cared. So that'll be something that will be addressed in time, but for right now, whenever I want to do videos like this, it'll be, well, like this. Talking into the phone, excuse me, talking into the phone, Probably chilling, laid back, kind of like this, trying to get my hair to look somewhat presentable. Yeah, that's as buzz as it's gonna get today. So anyhow, let me get to the point of this video. It's not just to just record myself talking into a camera phone. I wanted to address, maybe not address, but just give my opinion on a particular topic. So, and this is in part, this is in part inspired by a commenter named I think it's Bushin Ryu Cat. I think that's it. So Liana K, one of my favorite YouTubers, did a video talking about compassion and video games and whatnot. And I left several comments there, as I always do. And one commenter called Bushin Ryu Cat said that they wanted my opinion on the topic that Liana was covering. So here I am to give my opinion. So here it is. So the topic that Liana was talking about was compassion in video games and how video games foster compassion. So here's what I think, right? Now this is going to be pretty much anecdotal, but I do think that what I'm going to be describing is probably a common experience for many gamers, especially gamers around my age, being that I'm in my mid-30s, so I think 90s kids in general, right? People who were mid-80s babies, maybe early 80s babies who grew up in the 1990s can probably, excuse me, relate. So here's why I think that a lot of video games, or rather video games in general, are, or rather foster compassion. I think that video games foster compassion because they are, I think for the most part, and especially the games that I played growing up as a little kid, I think that video games have almost always had a collaborative nature. Some of the earliest video games that were available that came from Japan, right, for systems like the NES and the Super NES and the Sega Genesis, right, those systems came from Japan, and then a lot of the games followed, right? And a lot of those games were collaborative. And what I mean by collaborative is that you had, or rather you had the option, I should say, because a lot of these games had one-player modes and two-player modes. And I think that the theme was back then was that, yeah, you can play by yourself and that's nice and all, but isn't it more fun to play with another person? Isn't it more fun to play together? Plus, I think it's also a matter of design. So, for example, the Nintendo Entertainment System, the NES, and then, of course, the Super NES, right, are known as the Famicom, right? Famicom for the NES and the Super Famicom for the Super NES in Japan. Now, what does Famicom mean? Famicom is short for family computer. These games and these systems were designed to be entertaining for the family. They were designed to be entertaining for multiple people and for multiple people to play at the same time, right? Anybody who had an NES, who had a Genesis, Super NES, PlayStation, you know, most video game systems ever since the mid-80s have come with a standard two-port setting, right? One player, two player. And then, of course, back in the day, you could buy extension pieces and whatnot so that you could have 4 players or 8 players and stuff like that. So there's always been this tradition, I think, in gaming of being very much a group activity. And then you look at the games, as I was saying earlier before I sort of went off on a little tangent. If you look at the games that were released back in those days, you look at games like, of course, Super Mario Brothers, right? It tells you right in the name that this is meant to be a sort of, collaborative effort, right? You have games like that. You had games like, Golden Axe. You had games like Final Fight, Streets of Rage, which I do have here, Where are you? Aha, see? Streets of Rage. Old Streets of Rage titles. And you had games like Sonic. You had games like Sonic the Hedgehog and Sonic 2 for the Genesis. So a lot of these games were made to be played with a second person. Now, yeah, you could play by yourself. You could play in one player mode. That was always an option. But looking back on it, I think the message was, whether they were overtly saying it or not, was, yeah, one player is fun, but two players are even better. And if you played these type of games with other people, you remember things like, competing to, get to the flag the fastest. Or I know that when me and my brother were playing Streets of Rage 2 back in the day, he would always beat me up, right? Always jump on my character and like throw my character into tables or whatnot. But we had to finish the level together, right? For all the infighting and maybe picking on each other that we did, we had to eventually work together to defeat the final boss so that we could advance to the next level. And I think a lot of games that had two-player modes and that, in my opinion, really were intended to be played together had that element. It was a competitive element, but also a cooperative element. And I think that's part of the reason why it fosters compassion. And this continues even to this day. Now, of course, the arcades have died out, which I think is another reason why these games were designed that way. It's because a lot of these games, especially like the fighting games and the beat 'em ups and whatnot, were originally arcade games. And in the arcades, you literally had to stand shoulder to shoulder with your teammate / opponent. So I think it just fostered this sense of camaraderie. And back in the day, when you had to add all of these, different port devices so that 4 people could play or 8 people could play, it was a very communal thing. I remember when I was in the gamers club in my college. And this was back when, you had like PS2, Xbox, right? So this is like the mid 2000s. So you still had those type of add-ons available, and everybody used to gather in the same area, and we would all just play video games, right? I think video games for a very long time have been this very communal activity. I remember when me and my brother were children, right? It'd be one of those things where, and I think many people have experienced this, right? One person's playing a game and the other person's kind of serving as like the backseat driver type of thing. I remember when I was a kid and my brother would play games like say Sonic 2, right? And of course I was young. I was of the opinion that anything I liked was cool, and anything he liked was for babies. Because of course I'm 7 years old, right? And that's the beginning and the end of what is cool in my mind. But I can remember distinctly, sitting on the couch, he's playing the game, and I'm, sitting behind him, teasing him about, liking a baby's game, but also trying to help him out through the game. It's like, dodge this, jump that, you missed that jump, don't let the spikes hit you at the end of the Mr. Cave Zone level. Right? And I think a lot of us just had that sort of experience, whether we were in my brother's place of playing the game and being teased, or whether you were in my position of being the backseat driver, as it were. I think a lot of us just had that experience. And it's a bonding experience, right? It's cooperative and it's competitive at the same time. And I think this is what fosters the compassion, because you have to learn to work together. So their victory is your victory. And their loss is your loss. And even though games are not as communal as they used to be because of the internet, right? Because of the internet, you don't have to be in the same room anymore to play against somebody. You can play against people all over the world, and unless you're doing, say, esports, you don't really have to worry about being together in one place to play, which I think has its advantages and disadvantages, as most things do. But even still, this type of competitive slash cooperative dynamic still works. Take, for example, games like Call of Duty or Halo or Overwatch and or Fortnite, those type of games where you have to form teams, right? And then each member on the team has to be a certain role, right? One person is the sniper, one person's the heavy, one person's the tank, one person's the healer, right? You have to learn to work together. Each person, as The Rock would say, needs to know their role, but each person also needs to learn how to work together with the other person so that they can defeat the team. So I think that helps you to learn compassion and to learn teamwork. It's very similar to team sports, right? Each person has a role. Each person has their thing that they have to do. Each person has their individual skill set, but you bring them all together and you learn to work together to defeat the other team. So I think it's that mix of cooperation. I think it's that mix of cooperation and competitiveness which fosters compassion in video gaming. And then of course there were games like what is it, the MMORPGs, right? Where people have to basically barter and trade and create raiding parties and whatnot. Again, it's about working together. It's about being collaborative, right? And you have to do all these things so that you can go face the dungeon boss and then advance. So I think that despite what some people who are very critical of video games and really aren't gamers may say, there actually is this I would say community, right? And I think that gaming's always been and hopefully will continue to be this very group oriented activity, one that fosters a healthy degree of both competitiveness and cooperation. Ideally, I think it should kind of be like the dynamic Ryu and Ken having like Street Fighter, right? How they're both very good friends, but they're constantly competing against one another, but they've always got each other's back. That's what I'm hoping for, right? And their competition against each other, inspires them to keep improving. It's actually a very positive, in my opinion, representation of the spirit of competition, I guess you could say, in that it's inspiring both men to improve themselves for the next engagement, for the next battle, if that makes any sense. So there's that. And just to finish off the video, one of my most treasured memories just being a gamer is that I was in college and there was this guy named Bruce. So Bruce brings in his laptop and he's playing Darkstalkers 94. Now you have to keep in mind, this is the mid-2000s, so this type of thing is still fairly new, right? So he's playing Darkstalkers 94, I think it was. And we all just start slowly gathering around him, watching him play this game. And we're all standing there, yelling and we're cheering for him. And we're, trying to help him out and, give him tips. And, it's like, oh, dodge that attack, jump here, do this, do that, dug this, oh no, that type of thing, right? We were just as involved with it as he was. And then when he finally beat the game, it felt like we had won. I mean, we were like jumping up in the air. You would have thought that, we had won the world championship. We hadn't, but we had this, I don't know how to explain it, just this moment of joy as gamers that, hey, we watched and we helped a fellow gamer get past this particular video game. And that always stands out in my mind as sort of like representative of the joy that can be found in video games if you approach it with a positive mindset, if you're looking to have good experiences. I think that if you come into it with this poisoned mindset of, I'm going to be judged, I'm going to be this, I'm going to be that, you are never going to enjoy it. But I think that if you come at it with this mindset of, we can all come together, or we can all have fun, even if we are not directly involved in it, right? That it can still be this joyous experience, then I think that you get a lot more out of it. So there's my rambly thoughts on how video games foster compassion. Long story short, I think video games foster compassion because video games, at least for as long as I've been playing them, have always had a mix of competitiveness and cooperation. And I think that is what fosters the compassion, that someone else's victory vicariously becomes our victory, similar to spectator sports and like many other things. So that's the video. That's the first face reveal video too, I guess you could say. I hope you're all doing well. I hope that you have a fun weekend wherever you are, whatever you're doing. Please be safe, and I will see you in the next one. Have a good day, everybody. Bye.